Welcome back, students. This is the second part of your fiction, the third level. Continuing from the page 4, first paragraph, and it is a beautiful description of the third level encountered, experienced by the protagonist, the hero of the fiction, Charlie. There were brass pitons on the floor, and across the station a glint of light caught my eye. A man was pulling a gold watch from his vest pocket. He snapped open the cover, glanced at his watch, and frowned. He wore a derby hat and a black four-button suit with tiny lapels, and he had a big black handlebar mustache. Then I looked around and saw that everyone in the station was dressed like 1890 something. So this is the description of the third level, in which Charlie says that he encountered people who were wearing the dress of 1890s. I never saw so many beards, sideburns, and fancy mustaches in my life. A woman walked in through the train gate. She wore a dress with leg of mutton sleeves and skirts to the top of her high-buttoned shoes. Back of her, out on the tracks, I caught a glimpse of a locomotive, a very small carrier and eaves locomotive with a funnel-shaped stack, and then I knew. So the description of third level is beautifully done by Charlie. Students, you need not to go by line explanation of this paragraph, but what you need to understand is that third level had the things, people with the dressing style of 1890s. Everything was quite old, was non-familiar, or rather than non-matching with the present scenario. To make sure, I walked over to a newsboy and glanced at the stack of papers. So there was a pile of newspapers at his feet. It was The World. So The World is the name of the newspaper. Like nowadays, Times of India, Navbharat Times, Pioneer are famous. That time, it was The World. And The World hasn't been published for years. The lead story said something about President Cleveland. I have found that front page since in the public library files, and it was printed 11th June 1894. So on the paper, on the newspaper, The World, there was some news regarding President Cleveland of America, and the date mentioned was 11th June 1894. I turned toward the ticket windows, knowing that here on the third level at Grand Central, I could buy tickets that would take Louisa and me anywhere in the United States we wanted to go. So there were ticket counters, and he says that he wanted to know about the trains which would take him and his wife Louisa to any part of America in the year 1894, and I wanted 2 tickets to Galesburg, Illinois. So it is given that he immediately understood that third level comprised of all the things, people, their dressing style, all the information, everything about 1894. So he said that he wanted to purchase 2 tickets for himself and his wife to go to the place Galesburg, Illinois in the year 1894. Have you ever been there? It is a wonderful town still, with big old frame houses, huge lawns, and tremendous trees whose branches meet overhead and roof of the streets. And in 1894, summer evenings were twice as long, and people sat out on their lawns, the men smoking cigars and talking quietly, the women waving palm leaf fans with the fireflies all around, in a peaceful world. So he is describing Galesburg, and he says that it was a very, very simple place where people used to sit outside their homes, men smoking cigars, women waving palm leaf fans, and they were so relaxed and contented to be back there with the First World War still 20 years off. 20 years off because it is about 1894, and First World War took place somewhere near, I think, 1914. So he says that still 20 years back, the First World War and World War II, over 40 years in the future, I wanted 2 tickets for that. So Charlie says that he immediately understood that third level was the place where everything was very, very old, and so he wanted to visit the place Galsburg, and he knew Galsburg was a place where people used to live very happily contented and used to live a very simple life. The clerk figured the fare. So clerk was just seeing the fare, the ticket fare. He glanced at my fancy hatband, but he figured the fare, and I had enough for 2 coach tickets one way. But when I counted out the money and looked up, the clerk was staring at me. He nodded at the bills. "That ain't money, mister," he said, "and if you are trying to skin me, you won't get very far." And he glanced at the cash drawer beside him. Of course, the money was old style bills, half again as big as the money we use nowadays and different looking. I turned away and got out fast. There's nothing nice about jail even in 1894. So what happened exactly was that Charlie was giving present day currency to this ticket person, and he denied. He said that this is not the correct money and please give me the correct currency. So Charlie immediately understood that because he belonged to the 20th century and this is happening somewhere in 19th century, 1894. So he just understood the difference and the confusion regarding the currency. So he said that he immediately went outside because there's nothing nice about jail. He said that he didn't want to go to jail. And that was that. I left the same way I came, I suppose. The next day during lunch hour, I drew $300 out of the bank, nearly all we had, and bought old style currency that really worried my psychiatrist friend. So next day what happened? He went to bank, he drew the money, and he changed it to the old currency notes. But this had actually caused tension to his psychiatrist friend. You can buy old money at almost any coin dealers, but you have to pay a premium. My $300 bought less than 200 in old style bills, but I didn't care. Eggs were 13 cents a dozen in 1894. So somehow he just exchanged his present day currency with the old ones. But I have never again found the corridor that leads to the third level at Grand Central Station, although I have tried often enough. So next day, when he went to the Grand Central Station, he could not find the third level. And he was surprised and shocked at that. And then he says that he tried several times, but it could never happen. Louisa was pretty worried when I told her all this and didn't want me to look for the third level anymore. And after a while I stopped. I went back to my stamps, but now we are both looking every weekend because now we have proof that the third level is still there. My friend Sam Wiener disappeared. So Sam was his psychiatrist, his friend, and he disappeared. Nobody knew where, but I sort of suspected because Sam is a city boy and I used to tell him about Galesburg. I went to school there and he always said he liked the sound of the place. And that's where he is, all right, in 1894. So Charlie says that maybe his friend who was missing in the present situation had gone to Galesburg to get some solace and peace. Because one night, fussing with my stamp collection, I found, well, do you know what a first day cover is? So again, another thing is, the important term which is coming here is first day cover. So because one night fussing with my stamp collection, I found, well, do you know what a first day cover is? When a new stamp is issued, stamp collectors buy some and use them to mail envelopes to themselves on the very first day of sale. And the postmark proves the date. So what is first day cover? Actually, the people who love stamp collection, who love stamp collecting, what they do is that they take that stamp, they buy that stamp, they put it in an envelope and then post to themselves. Because what happens when they post it? Then postman or in the post office there is a stamp of the date which proves When was the stamp launched? The envelope is called the first day cover. They are never opened. You just put blank paper in the envelope. So you put a blank paper on the in the envelope, you put a stamp, and then you get a date stamped on it. So it is known as the first day cover. That night, amongst my oldest first day covers, I found one that shouldn't have been there, but there it was. It was there because someone had mailed it to my grandfather at his home in Galesburg. That's what the address on the envelope said. So one day he found a first day cover, and that was an envelope mailed to his grandfather. Okay? And it had been there since July 18, 1894. The postmark showed that, yet I didn't remember it at all. The stamp was a 6-cent, dull brown, with a picture of President Garfield. Naturally, when the envelope came to Granddad in the mail, it went right into his collection and stayed there till I took it out and opened it. The paper inside wasn't blank, it read, "So Charlie, I got to wishing that you were right. Then I got to believing you were right. And Charlie, it is true. I found the third level. I have been here 2 weeks, and right now, down the street at the Dailies, someone is playing a piano, and they are all out on the front porch singing, 'Seeing Nellie Home.' And I'm invited over for lemonade. Come on back, Charlie and Louisa. Keep looking till you find the third level. It's worth it, believe me." The note is signed Sam. So what happened is that Charlie found a first day cover in his house, and that was actually an envelope sent to his grandfather long back, and it stated that really Galesburg was a beautiful place, and it was signed by Sam. And also what was mentioned was that Galesburg was a beautiful, nice place which was worth visiting, and Sam had also stated for Louisa and Charlie to keep on searching for the third level. At the stamp and coin store I go to, I found out that Sam bought $800 worth of old style currency that ought to set him up in a nice little hay, feed and grain business. He always said that's what he really wished he could do. And he certainly can't go back to his old business, not in Galesburg, Illinois in 1894. His old business? Why, Sam is my psychiatrist. So, with this, we come to an end to this fiction, the third level. It is given that Sam was the psychiatrist of Charlie, and Charlie came to know that Sam also had exchanged his present day currency with the old ones. But actually what happened to Sam is not clear, but he says that he went missing from the city. And after that, after some time, when he was searching in his home, he could find the first day cover, which was addressed to his grandfather by Sam. So it is not given very clearly how Sam could post that first day cover to his grandfather or whatever, but what is given is that Sam also was in Galesburg, and he stated that third level, the third platform about which Charlie mentioned in the first paragraph, was really worth searching. So students, just understand one thing, that in this fiction, the third level, it is not clearly given that third level is whether just a piece of imagination of Charlie, or maybe because he is having some psychological problem, he is imagining it, or he is hallucinating it, or he is just dreaming about it. But what is given is that there are three characters in this fiction: Charlie, his wife Louisa, and his psychiatrist Sam. Charlie tells about the third level at the Grand Central Station, where he visited accidentally and could not find it again. He told about it to his psychiatrist, and then after some days, psychiatrist went missing, and in his home, Charlie could find the first day cover, in which there was a note from his psychiatrist that Galesburg was really a very contented, nice and beautiful place. So to reach Galesburg, it was worth keep searching the third level by Charlie. So he had actually insisted, Sam had actually insisted Charlie and Louisa to keep on searching for the third level. So this is the story of third level, which talks about the time and space travel. Maybe it is a time travel by Charlie. From the present he has gone to the past. Maybe he is imagining. Maybe he is a piece of psychological problem. Nothing has been mentioned clearly. But this is the story of third level. You will not use the term platform in your answers, but to make it easy, I am just telling you that Grand Central Station had the two levels. So you can compare those two levels to two platforms, but Charlie stated that he had gone to the third level, which comprised of everything old belonging to 1890s. Thank you. With this, I am over with the chapter. Please listen to both the videos of the third level. If you have any problem, feel free to ask me. And then there are questions following this chapter. The main points to be included in the answers of those questions will be posted by me in the Google Classroom. Have a nice day ahead.